everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the TennisONE podcast in the TennisONE app on YouTube and on Spotify. Patrick and I are back. We've been gone, the last few weeks, done some travel for the TennisONE app, so we're happy to be back. We have a fun podcast episode for you guys, something a little bit different than we've done in the past, so we're happy to be back, and I'll pass it over to you, Patrick.
Yeah, good to be back, Madison. I was in Miami and you were in Charleston, so we've been gone a little while here, but we're ready to get back into the podcast game here. This is always a highlight of our day. So yeah, we're like you said, we're gonna do something we haven't done so far. If you work at a company or something, a lot of times people talk about Q1, Q2, Q3, the dreaded, we got to hit these numbers, and that's how it works. But yeah, we're going to talk about Q1 for tennis because that is the first 3 months of the year. And it's kind of, it's a hard court swing, right? So the first 3 months usually with Australia, and then you've got the two big masters at the Sunshine Double that are hard court. So we want to kind of just recap where everybody sort of landed and what we thought were basically the top three winners for the men and the women in terms of on court. And then after, we're going to do a little fun which apparel brands won the first 3 months of the year, because tennis apparel usually comes in sort of quarters as well, or they'll talk about spring, summer, fall, winter. That's another way tennis apparel likes to talk about. But yeah, we'll talk
seasons of tennis apparel.
The seasons of tennis apparel, and then you're definitely going to want to stick around for this at the end of the show. I should say the second half of the show is going to be comparing today's tennis players to the discography of a very famous music artist who we will not name right now because you're going to have to come back later. It'll probably be in the title of the episode. Who are we kidding? But yeah, we're going to talk about that at the back half of the show. So should be a fun one.
Definitely lots of fun topics. So
for sure. So we'll jump into which female tennis player did we think won the start of the year. We're going to do our top three. So Madison and I will go back and forth. Madison, why don't you start with your number three?
Yeah. So this is a tough category because there's a lot of women who are doing really well. So I picked this player in the third spot just due to her consistency for the year so far. And I chose Elena Rybakina, making the final at the Australian Open, making the final in Miami, winning Indian Wells. She's playing so well right now. Really fun to watch. We know last year she won Wimbledon, but didn't get the points for that. So her ranking actually should be higher than it is. So I feel like, she's kind of holding on to that, redeeming herself and continuing to just put up these consistent results. And we've seen that thus far. So excited to watch her the rest of the year. So she is my number three pick.
Yeah, I mean, I think she's number 7 let me look at the TennisONE app. I think she's number 7 in the rankings right now, which, is still not as high as she should be, right? I mean, she should be
right
a top 3 ranked player. Yep, number 7 still. So that will change if she keeps putting up these consistent results. But yeah, she's definitely got to be in the top 3. I had Petra Kvitova coming in at number 3, fresh off a Miami Open title, the first time she's ever won in Miami. She's won a lot of titles, and she's 33, so she's been on the tour quite a long time and has won a couple Wimbledons. But yeah, just really cool to see her still doing it. She talks about how she doesn't think of longevity as like she's always playing her best tennis for this long of a time, but more that just the fact that she's here. And frankly, she had this really scary incident where somebody broke into her house and like stabbed her on her playing hand. So the fact that she is still playing at 33 and winning Masters 1000 titles, I mean, for me, she's got to be in the top 3 conversation for who won the start of the year. And she's back into the top 10. So really cool. She had a good result also at Indian Wells, even before Miami. Mm-hmm. Coming back against Pagula, she was down like 4 match points, I think, and pulled that one out. So that was cool to see. So yeah, Petra, she can win on any given week. So it was cool to see her win that one, and yeah, got her number 3. So
that's a good one. And you had a great interview with her down in Miami. She's just super personable and just very bubbly, and I don't know, she's just really cute.
She's really nice. It was funny after she won the Miami Open. The Masters, this might be the only Masters that has like this level of musicians performing on site, but they had Kuhle in the gang performing
Love it.
like in front of the stadium right after the women's singles final. So for all the fans that were like walking outside, oh, here's like this legit, this band that everybody knows playing. And of course, they had to have Petra come out onto the stage as they played Celebrate, which, celebrate good times.
Good
Like
times.
everybody
Come
knows
on.
that song. So, she comes out the trophy and she's a really good sport about it. I think she's a little, I don't know, when you get put in situations, like super comfortable with, but she's very nice and she did it and it was great. So yeah, go
She
Petra.
could be a music star after her tennis career is done. You never know.
And hey, even at 33, there's a first for everything on the WTA tour. So
That is true. Love it. Love it. Okay, so for my number 2 player, I took Iga Swiatek just because she's still currently world number 1. I know she hasn't, she didn't have the result that she wanted in Australia. She's still playing well. She made the semis at Indian Wells, or was it the quarters? I can't remember now.
at Indian
been a
Wells,
minute.
I believe it was the semis. Let me
I think it was.
double check. We have an app that is it's an encyclopedia.
I'm like 90.
We've got
There we go.
So yes, semis. She lost to Rybakina.
Okay. There we go. Yep. So she put up a good result. That I know it's really hard to defend your title, especially at Masters 1000 tournaments. So she played really well. She's another player that's consistent. Obviously, we know she withdrew from Miami due to injury. So just keeping her number 1 ranking because of her results last year. She's one of those players that you can never discount. And I feel like she has big results at most every tournament.
Yes.
And excited to see what she can do on clay.
For sure.
Because we know that's her strong suit.
Feels like she's going to have a good Q2. That's for sure. She won Doha after.
Yeah.
Kind of, didn't have the result she wanted in Australia, like you said. And then she made the final in Dubai. So still really good results for the world number 1. And like I said, this is her time of the year coming up. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
I had number 2. I had Elena Rybakina at number 2.
Yep.
Like she got to the finals of the Australian Open. She got to the finals of the Miami Open and she won Indian Wells. So she's probably having, besides who I have at number 1, I would say on paper, Rybakina is maybe having the second best results of the year and consistent results. And so that's good to try to get her ranking up to where it deserves to be. And she's just, I don't know. She's she has 2 wins over Swiatek this year. She beat her at Indian Wells and then she beat her at the Australian Open in the round of 16. So yeah, I think she's just a player to watch out for. And then we were kind of talking about like her coaching. She gets coached hard by her coach, and she kind of got called out for it by Pam Shriver at the Australian Open. But then she's like, "No, Pam, this works for me. I like how he motivates me." And I actually saw some of that in Miami, like during a rain delay, and Rybakina was down in the match, and then gets this talking to. It's almost like a motivating pep talk more than anything, it seems like, for her. But she came out, won the match, and ended up making the finals of that tournament. So yeah, she's I don't know. Speaking of nice people, she is like maybe the nicest person. One of my friends was like with me when I was doing this interview with her, and he was just like, wow, she just looks like the nicest person that there ever was. So
she's so sweet and so like reserved.
Yeah.
And just kind of quieter for how powerful she is on court. Like her personality is definitely different than that. So
yeah, 100%. I don't know if you saw Kokonakis tweeted something about her. I got to look at exactly what the tweet was. Because he said something about her being like the nicest girl ever. in a tweet. And next thing you know, everybody's accusing him of like, are you taking a crack at her right now? Like, are you shooting your shot?
Oh,
Trying to like, and yeah, he quickly said, no. I was just saying she just looks like a really nice girl.
I'm
But
just trying to compliment.
exactly.
Oh,
But
well, she is. She's a gem, that's for sure.
no doubt. Okay.
All right. So,
On your next pick.
yeah, top picks. I am taking Miss Arena Sabalenka just because she finally gets her Grand Slam title in Australia this year. She made the final at Indian Wells. She's just playing so well. And I feel like we've talked about, you mentioned her serve being a struggle in the past, and just the way that she's been able to combat that and just kind of turn that around and get that aspect of her game back, and just her consistency. I think that she's the player that she's always meant to be, and I feel like we're finally getting to see that, and I'm excited to see what the rest of the year looks like for her. Excited to see if she can dominate on any of these other surfaces. It'll be interesting to see. So you never know, but she's my number one for good reason.
For good reason. And yeah, that's the right pick. That's who I also had at number one, is Arena Sabalenka. She started the year winning her first tournament in Adelaide, and then she carried that through and won her first major title, singles, I should say, at the Australian Open.
True.
She's won some doubles majors, but yeah, just kind of, getting that serve monkey off her back, getting the slam monkey off her back. She's, you could see how much it meant to her when she won it. And it's definitely helped her, I think, as the years sort of gone on. She's lost early in Indian Wells before. And so to make the final of that and just have the results she's having. I mean, she's like 21-3 in the first 3 months of the year, with 2 titles, final at Indian Wells. So yeah, I think with the major sort of being the benchmark, that is the only major in the first 3 months, and she won it. And yeah, so I think you got to give it to her. And especially like in the past at some of the majors for singles, she's faltered when it mattered most. I mean, at the US Open 2021, she was playing Fernandez and lost in 3 after sort of winning the second set, and felt like she had the momentum and couldn't close it out against the teenager. So yeah, it's well deserved for her to finally get this one. And yeah, feels like it's freed her up a little bit. So we'll see what happens with the clay and the grass. Don't know.
Yeah.
Don't know which. I think grass is probably better for her game, but she hits it hard.
Yeah.
So you can get the ball through the court on the clay. She's making her shots. You never know. So
She's a fun one to watch for sure.
all right.
Solid picks right there.
Yep. So you had Rybakina, Swiatek, Sabalenka, and I had Kvitova, Rybakina, Sabalenka. Now we're going to the end with starting with number 3. Do you want to tell us who you picked for number 3?
Yeah, so I am taking, I don't know if this is necessarily surprising, but I'm going to go with Novak Djokovic, only because he wasn't able to play Miami Indian Wells, but he did win the Australian Open. So, and of course he's Novak, but he just lost in Monte Carlo. Maybe not playing like quite his level of tennis at this point, but I just wondered what you think, Patrick, if, it's really hurting his game not being able to play in the US tournaments like Indian Wells, Miami.
Yeah. It definitely doesn't help that he doesn't have the big match experience, like going into, like a restart for him. All these players have been playing a lot of tennis recently, even though it hasn't necessarily been on clay. But yeah, he obviously would have liked to be there. And I think at this point, the tournaments clearly stated they wanted him there. But, as a result of his choices, he isn't able to enter the US. So yeah, I think that, he's still Djokovic, and still, I think once we get to Roland Garros or any 3 out of 5 set tournament, it's going to be a different story to upset him. But yeah, he would have liked to play more tennis in the first 3 months. That's for sure. So.
For sure. Yeah. So he's my number 3. Still got that, Grand Slam at the beginning of the year. Can't really discount that. So
not bad. You'll take it.
Not bad.
All right. I had at number 3, I had Carlos Alcaraz. While he's been one of the 2 that's had the number 1 ranking between him and Djokovic, bouncing back and forth, he definitely is someone who hasn't played as much tennis as he would have liked in the first 3 months of the year, having to miss the Australian Open. with an injury. And then he won Buenos Aires and he got to the finals in Rio. And then he had to, I'm trying to think, did he pull out of one more tournament somewhere? Maybe Guadalajara, I think. I don't know. He came back and won Indian Wells, which was amazing. For his, like, I don't know. I wouldn't say little tennis, but he didn't play as much as he wanted to. And we didn't even pick him in our Indian Wells draft because we thought, he's kind of
Big mistake.
Yeah. So he's been back and forth with these injuries a little bit. So we weren't totally sure. And then he just won Indian Wells. So that was great for him. The matches that he has played, he's 18-2 on the year. He lost to Sinner in the Miami Open semis. So, it's not like it's a bad loss or anything. They always have great matches. And that was by far, that just being in a part of that match should probably boost him up because that was, one of the most fun matches of the year. And I was lucky enough to actually get to be at it. And it's crazy watching Alcaraz this year at the Miami Open versus seeing him last year there because people really last year, but like he's a mega star now that he's won the US Open and has been the number one player and is still a teenager. Like he basically sold out Hard Rock Stadium every time he played. It was always full for him with all these rain delays and stuff. There was actually one night where he was supposed to play. It got rained out and postponed to the next day. And so all the people that had night session tickets for that night, the Miami Open at first gave them tickets to the day session of the next day. But Alcaraz wasn't going to play until the night session of the next day. So all these people complained, like, we bought tickets to see Alcaraz. Like, that's who we want to see, like all the support chats in our app were about like, when's Alcaraz going to play? And then the Miami Open, credit to them, they switched the tickets. So the people that they gave the day session, they said, okay, we'll switch it tonight so you can see Alcaraz. So that match specifically versus Sinner, that ended up, I think, being a match where they all got to see it. And it was packed and it was
and what a freaking match.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was so
to get to go to. That's insane. He ran out of
gas at the end. I mean, Sinner was playing great, but Alcaraz definitely wasn't on. He was kind of running on E, it seemed like, at the end there. So, but yeah, he's still been number one for half of the start of the year, and his fan support is unmatched. And he still won a title and did well in some of the other tournaments he played in. So I've got him at number 3.
Yeah. So I have him at my second spot and literally like everything that we just talked about. I mean, this guy, I'm really excited to see what he can do in Q2 clay season. We know that is his specialty and he's playing in Barcelona right now. So that's nice to see. I think he had to pull out of Monte Carlo.
Yeah.
But back on the court, back on the clay, excited to see what he can do. Hard court, obviously another strong suit. I just feel like he's kind of unstoppable. And like you said, those injuries haven't really held him down too far. So fun to watch.
When he's healthy and not super tired, like I don't know who can beat him, frankly. He just beat Batista Agut in the oh geez, what tournament is this? I get so it's Barcelona.
Is it Barcelona?
He just beat Batista Agut like literally right now, 6-3, 7-5. So he's
there we go,
getting the train going. I mean, everybody knows he's a great clay court player. He would actually say that he's best on hard course at this point, but yeah, he's probably going to be one of those all around guys. It'd be interesting to see how he does at Wimbledon and the grass tournaments this year.
Yeah. The grass season that'll be fun.
All right. So that was your number 2. I had Daniil Medvedev at number 2. He's won the most tournaments of this year for sure. He's won Rotterdam, Doha, Dubai, and most recently he won Miami. He's beaten Novak twice on the way to some of these titles. Or I'm sorry, not twice. What am I saying? He's just beaten him one time on the way to the Dubai title, I believe. But yeah, he's 30-3, so that's not a bad record. Winning like 4 tournaments in a row, and he was even in the finals of Indian Wells. So he was in like 5 finals in a row and won 4 of them. So that's pretty good. I just have him at number 2 because he hasn't been one of the 2 players in the number 1 spot. So maybe you can figure out who I put at number 1. But I've got Medvedev. So he's feeling good going into the clay, where he's not always the strongest, but he's having some decent clay results compared to previous years. So we'll see how he can keep that going.
Yeah. So he's actually who I picked as my top spot just because of the results that he's put up, with the exception of the Australian Open, which we talked about that just not being, what he wanted this year. But all those other tournaments that he's won, Miami is huge. And then like you said, making the final at Indian Wells and then turning around and winning Miami. I mean, that's a big, big deal. He's playing super consistent, and I don't know. You've talked to him. I haven't been at Miami, so I haven't had the chance to talk to him, but I just feel like he's a player that just seems to be pretty genuine and down to earth. And like, he always seems to give really a lot of respect to his fans. I don't know. He just seems like one of those types of guys off the court.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the best interviews from the media side. Like he doesn't just give short answers or whatever. He always says something that's, funny or so he's a good guy, and he respects the media. He understands the role of it. And he's fun on the court. Like even at Indian Wells, it's well known that he does not like those tennis courts because they're really slow. And he likes, as you can see in clay, also slow service. He's not a huge fan. He likes fast hard courts. So he was joking, like when he got to the finals of Indian Wells in the speech, he like thanked the court. So it's kind of, he always just does funny stuff like that. And last year when he lost that final to Rafa in Australia, it kind of like derailed his year. It felt like, because he was up 2-0 in that match, and Rafa came all the way back. It was insane. But he didn't have very good results after that. Really for the year, he had underwhelming results for what he's able to achieve. And so losing early in the Australian Open this year, it's kind of had like an opposite effect. He's like been more motivated, it seems like, and again has won 4 of 5 tournaments after that. Did really well at Indian Wells, his best result ever at that tournament, even though he doesn't like the courts. And he started, do decent on clay compared to previous years. So yeah, watch out for Medvedev. He's starting to, I don't know. He's figuring it out how to win on the surfaces he doesn't necessarily like. So
Yeah.
we'll see. All right, number 1, I had Novak Djokovic, as you could probably guess from what I said earlier, but I've got him. He won the only major that's in the first 3 months of the year, so there's that. He's been ranked number 1 back and forth with Alcaraz to the start of the year. He's won most of the matches he's played. For as much time as he misses tournaments and has to sit out and all this stuff, like he's still, for the most part, when he plays, it counts. It does seem recently that he's got a little bit of an injury. So we'll see. Granted, that was in April, so we don't have to worry about that loss that he had there. But I just think that I don't agree with his stance on a lot of things, but the fact that when he does play, especially at the majors, he always makes it count, and he's got that 22nd major, and he's tied with Rafa, and it seems a sure thing he'll end up with that record. So I think just big picture, I've got to say Djokovic for number 1.
That's a good pick. I mean, can't discount him. Doesn't mean if you agree or not, but he's the best of the best. So
yeah, it's we're all waiting for that Alcaraz Djokovic match. That's going to be big whenever it does.
Yes, one day.
We should clarify, because they have played this year on the clay, but we want the major matchup. Particularly, it'd be sweet if it was the final. Like, I don't know, because Rafa keeps pulling out all these tournaments. So, if he is in the draw for Roland Garros, Nadal is the favorite no matter what. But if he's not, or if he loses early because he's hurt, we'll see. I just hope that Djokovic and Alcaraz, they should be on opposite halves of the draw. So see what happens.
That would be unreal.
Yeah.
Tennis history right there.
Okay, so for top 3, you had Djokovic, Alcaraz, Medvedev, right?
Yep.
Okay. And I had Alcaraz, Medvedev, Djokovic going 3-2-1. So same players, different order. And
yep.
Yeah, some fun starts of the year for sure for some of the on-court stuff. But we want to talk about the close now, because we can't always just talk about the serious, results, who's winning, blah, blah, blah. let's talk about some kits. Who we'll do top three. Which brands did you think had the best start to the year in terms of their fits or anything else?
Yeah. For my third spot, I'm going to go with Fila. I just feel like you can't go wrong with Fila. They always have just like, I guess clean is kind of the word that I would use to describe. I just like the look. They
Yeah.
never have super crazy patterns. Sometimes they do bright, more vibrant colors, but I feel like overall it's just, you mentioned like a classic brand. You
Yeah.
just can't go wrong. They've got some good players, Isner, Rogers,
Yeah.
players that are American, people like them. They're just a good brand, good
Poprin
quality.
did Poprin was a fun one to watch at the Australian.
Oh yeah.
He was wearing that like kind of, is it blue almost, or like
Yeah.
kind of between a blue and green. But yeah, I like when Fila keeps it simple and does kind of just like classic colors and stuff.
Yep.
Sometimes get super colorful. I don't know.
It's a
That's
little
polarizing. Some
much.
people like it, some people don't. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, they're the brand that created the Bjorn Borg shirt. So that's maybe the most iconic tennis piece of tennis apparel there is. So can't go wrong with Fila, like you said.
Nope.
I had at number 3 New Balance, because they've got a lot of momentum. It feels like they've got, at the Australian Open, they had Tommy Paul, who made the semis, and then Shelton wasn't even under contract. He was just wearing it because he has the same agent as Coco Gauff, who is signed to New Balance. So that was nice for New Balance that he was wearing their clothing during, a quarterfinal run at his first major.
Crazy.
Out of the country, I should say. So, and then those two, Tommy Paul and Ben Shelton, played in the quarters. So that was great for them. Obviously, they have Coco Gauff, who, whether it's on the singles or doubles court, is always, somewhere close to a final or winning. So, and then, Jordan Thompson, shout out, kind of one of the players that, doesn't get talked about a lot, but is always around. He's always at every tournament, it feels like. And he upset Tsitsipas in the second round of the Indian Wells tournament recently. So yeah, they've had some good stuff. I like their commercials. That I actually just saw a New Balance basketball commercial watching the playoffs, and it's the same song.
Oh,
It's the same song as what they use for the Coco Gauff commercial, where it's like, "Hey you," and like she's just being fun and youthful and all that. It's like, New Balance, we got now. That's like their slogan. But it was the exact same ad. They just swapped out Coco Gauff for basketball players. But
I like that. Versatile.
yeah, it's just exciting to see that New Balance is making tennis commercials. So it feels like they've got a lot of momentum in tennis and want to keep seeing it. I know we both like the off court stuff from them. So
Yeah. That's exactly it. That's why it's my number 2 pick, because off court, I feel like New Balance used to be kind of maybe not hated on, but not as well, like not as popular because they used to be associated with like the old man shoe.
yeah,
And I feel like that has completely changed. And now the old man shoe is the style. It's what all the TikTokers are wearing. It's what all the young kids are wearing. I have a pair and they're so comfortable. They're so cute. You can put them with your little above the ankle socks, little kind of 90s vibe, because that's back in style. Love them. But they're on court stuff as well. Like you said, they've got some young players. We love to see that. I remember last year Coco wore this really sparkly, fun outfit in Silicon Valley. So I feel like they kind of play well with the younger crowd. And I just really like their kits. They've done well so far.
and one of the few brands that's like got a signature product for one of the players with the Coco Gauff shoes. There's
Yeah.
not a ton of tennis brands that are like promoting a shoe that's just like designed by this player and it's their signature shoe. So like to see that for sure.
Love
Number
it.
two,
And her shoes were really cool. You saw
yeah,
them in Miami.
yeah, for sure, the high tops.
Very cute.
Number 2, I had the old swoosh right here on my shirt, Nike. They definitely had the most talked about apparel piece, I would say, for all of Q1. They've got the Tiafo, what sort of looks like a romper, but it's like shorts and a tank. They just had the same crazy colorful pattern on it. Whether people were talking about it because they didn't like it or because they did like it, that's up to you to decide. But it definitely got the most talk per usual. They always know how to do that. And then there was like a meme with Tiafoe and Harry Styles because whatever Harry wore at some event kind of looked like that outfit that Tiafoe had on. So anytime we can get tennis associated with Harry Styles and talked about, in pop culture, tennis will take it. We're happy.
Absolutely.
So yeah, and really in a year where Nike's cutting back with how many players they're sponsoring and stuff like that, they still know how to be talked about and to honestly be worn by the best players for the most part. So
yeah, they're a great pick, which is why they're my number one. And I am going with it because I am a huge fan of biker shorts, and I'm loving that, like, Azarenka, Sabalenka, you mentioned Bianca Andreescu wearing these biker shorts with the cropped Nike tank. I'm here for it. We love to see it. That is like my style. And I like that the women are getting to wear shorts.
yeah.
I think that's fun. And Nike's doing a really good job with pairing the black biker shorts with like a fun colored top, but still keeping the pattern simple versus the men's kits, which I still like you mentioned, Tiafoe, the kind of swirl. I liked those though. That was a good look.
Yeah. Nike does a great job. As little as they're focused on tennis, they still probably have the best clothing and the shoes, and they've got a lot of experience outside tennis that probably helps, and they've got a lot of money, frankly. But Nike, you can't go wrong with those guys. So, but I didn't have them at number one just because I feel like a new brand's kind of it's getting a lot of talk anyway, and that is On Running. Just recently signed Iga Swiatek and Ben Shelton, which I think are two really cool signings. Obviously, Iga, who was with ASICS, she's been number one for a while and kind of dominant in the last year and a half or so. So that's a great signing for them. And then also Ben Shelton, who is new to the Pro Tennis Tour and is having some strong results to start, in his first full year, obviously making the quarters at AO. Now, granted, he wasn't wearing the On at that point, but he has kind of become one of people's favorite players. And so for On to sign him up, and we'll see what kind of results he can start to have. But they've done a really, really great job for just kind of breaking in. And obviously they've got Fed, got the big man on their side, and saying, Madison, that if you just bring Federer to the meeting, any player is going to sign on that dotted line. I don't care what you're not paying me. You know what? That's fine. Like, as long as Raj, our families can go on vacation, as long as, you that, like, we'll come down to Dubai and hang out with you. Like, it'll be great.
That's all you need.
That's all you need is
all you need.
Little Raj persuasion. So
love it. Love to see it.
And not to mention the Ben Shelton clothes were cool. So I kind of want those.
I really did like those. Yeah, they looked great. Exciting for him too. Like you said, he's just kind of like the talk of tennis, since Australia, generating a lot of fans. So that's very cool that he's going to be wearing that brand. So love to see it.
No doubt. Okay. So you had Fila, New Balance, Nike, and I had New Balance, Nike On.
There we go.
So that's what we're saying, guys. If you disagree with us, don't add us. But anyway, you can add us. Okay.
A little drama.
Yeah, we like it. All right. So those are our rankings for the first quarter of the year. We'll do this each quarter. And before we do that, though, we've got an exciting back half of the show coming up after this quick break. We may be talking which tennis players today can we compare to Taylor Swift's discography, right, Madison?
Yep. I could not be more excited for this. So shout out to Patrick for going along with it. But we know he's a fellow Swiftie at heart. So easy persuasion.
Oh, boy. Yeah, Madison's going to help me through it. I feel good about my picks, but I know some of the albums better than others. So we'll see. Stay with us.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. I really could not be more excited for this next category that we're going to do. And I don't know if, our listeners are aware of this, but Taylor Swift, who I feel is the music industry, is currently on the biggest tour of the music industry and of her career right now. It's called the Eras Tour. And a thing you got to know about Taylor Swift is she doesn't just have albums, she has eras, okay? So Patrick and I, and by that I mean I thought it would be really fun for us to go through and pick some players and compare them to Taylor Swift eras slash albums. So how this is going to work is we're going to go down the line. Patrick and I are going to take turns. Taylor Swift has 10 albums, so we have 5 WTA players and 5 ATP players that we feel best resemble these albums. So we're going to go ahead and take turns, and we're going to start from the top with her debut era. So this was her self-titled album, Taylor Swift. She was 16 when this came out, okay?
Jeez.
Big deal. Think very youthful. This was her country era, playful blues greens for colors. Tim McGraw, Teardrops on My Guitar, some notable songs from that album. Patrick, go ahead and give us your ATP pick for the debut Taylor Swift album.
I didn't know she was 16 when that came out. That's crazy.
She was.
Yeah, I mean, I remember those songs very well, and obviously we thought she was going to be like a country star when and she was, but she showed she has a little more variety, eh? So yeah, for this first era though, debut Tim McGraw, blue and green, youthful. I went with Ben Shelton. Go Gators. This guy, can't you just see him in like a country music video, just like kind of wearing the cowboy hat, like all this, like I could see Ben Shelton doing that. I mean, Florida's the South, right? Technically. The Gators, blue and green. I know orange is also one of their colors. That's probably more blue and orange is like their main colors, but green, I mean, the Gators green. So
exactly.
So that's who I've got for Ben Shelton. I mean, youthful, blue and green, just making a huge debut with the quarterfinal result. Yeah, I can't talk. Quarterfinal result at the Australian Open. So he's not quite 16; he's 20, I think. But that's
not quite, but
still youthful. So, what do you think of that? Does he kind of?
That's great. I feel like that's a great pick. You did that justice for sure. So it's actually funny that you picked him because the next album is Fearless, and we did Taylor's version just because she now owns that album. If you don't know, she re-recording her first 5 albums because she can own them now. So anyways, Taylor's Fearless version, White Horse, Fearless tracks on that one. This is another country album, kind of more about love, and there are a couple breakup anthems in there, but think like country, sparkly, tassel, gold, white. I also picked Ben Shelton for this, and I picked it because the album is entitled Fearless, and I feel like that's how Ben plays. He's also very flashy, and I feel like Fearless is kind of a flashy album. If you see her perform these songs, she's usually in a sparkly outfit. She's got the sparkly guitar. I feel like that embodies Ben. And like Patrick said, he would fit really well in a country music video. So that's a good one.
I'm sure we'll see it at one of these like tournaments in Texas. If he plays, they're going to make him wear like a cowboy hat like that one.
For sure. And he would do it. We know he would do it. So.
Yeah. On running, make him a sparkly outfit for one of these.
Embody that fearless debut Taylor Swift with some sparkle tassel, even whatever you want to throw on it. Okay, so next album, her third album, Speak Now. This is where the infamous Enchanted, beautiful song, also Haunted, Long Live, of course, the title track, Speak Now. Think Purple, Sparkle. This has some sad songs on there. Another country album, but this was when she was 20, so she's a little bit older, kind of breaking into, she's totally found her voice, and it's completely self-written, this album. So Patrick, you selected a WTA player for this. Who do you have?
Wait, can you tell me why is the song infamous, Enchanted?
It's so it kind of is about the lead singer of Owl City, is the rumor. So I don't know. I don't personally believe that because I just couldn't picture it. But
Yeah.
Enchanted is it's one of her more famous ones. And I feel like it's something that people go absolutely feral for. It's the only song from the Speak Now era on tour that she sings. So Enchanted, if you haven't heard it, give it a listen. But who do you have for your WTA player?
Yeah, not because she's infamous, but I've got Jess Pagula for
Oh,
now because Jess just came out with a great Players Tribune article about her mom. If you haven't read it, that was amazing and probably not easy for her to write because just what she and her family had gone through with her mom and honestly with the owning the Bills and the DeMar Hamlin thing and all that. It was really cool to see
yeah.
Jess kind of speak about that. I also think of Purple as like, Jess, she won her biggest title last year at the WTA 1000 in Guadalajara, which she was wearing kind of an outfit that had purple on it. I think the Guadalajara courts, even for the WTA 1000, are like purple or pink, maybe.
Look at that.
Just confirm. I'm pretty sure they're,
She
yeah,
embodies Speak Now.
exactly. The Guadalajara court is purple on the inside and then gray on the outside. So that's why I kind of thought it was just perfect for Jess, and I want to make sure to get her in there because she is no doubt one of our favorite players. And I know
For
she
sure.
listens to country music because she was telling us in Miami how she drives to the tournament from her house because she lives in Boca. So she was talking about like, it's just like a commute for me, just like any other job. But I asked her what she listens to, and she said either podcasts or country music usually. So got to get her in
There
there.
we go.
Still country.
That's a really good pick. Like I'm impressed. A lot of detail went into that. So very well done.
Here, right?
Okay. No, that was really good. Next is Red, Taylor's version, and we're doing Taylor's version because All Too Well 10-minute version is on the Taylor version of the Red album. And this other notable tracks, I Knew You Were Trouble, We Are Never Getting Back Together, 22, and of course, All Too Well, 10-minute version. And this would be considered as kind of her pop country crossover album. She still has some songs on there that are, country, but then she's venturing into the pop with the We're Never Getting Back Together, I Knew You Were Trouble. And this is also a breakup album. Breakup, fall, think that, leaves are falling, you're crying, breakup album.
I feel
Okay,
like she
so
likes fall albums,
yeah, she does. She really does. There's a lot of fall tracks. So I picked an ATP player for this, and I'm going with Tommy Paul.
Oh,
And I think so. I have one reason is to do with the fact that he's had some relationships and he's gone through some breakups. So we know he's, listened. I'm sure he's listened to some T Swift. Another reason is his new girlfriend, Paige Lorenz. Really like them together. I ship that relationship. She's very into like outdoorsy fall activities. They're in the like East Coast countryside. So it kind of reminded me of like a Taylor Swift All Too Well music video. Also, I felt like the transition that Tommy Paul has made from maybe taking tennis kind of seriously to becoming a very serious and talented tennis player, I felt like that fit.
no doubt. No doubt. And he switched to a red racket at the beginning of this year.
There we
You
go.
didn't notice he used to use the Wilson Spade, which is a green racket, and now he's on the Yonex V-Core, and that's a red racket, and he's had some great results. So one other layer that you didn't even
Look
know
at
was coming.
that.
No.
Patrick coming in with like the facts about the colors. I love it. We're here
Red
for it.
scarf, red racket, what else do you need?
Same thing, right?
Exactly.
Okay. So now we're going to cross over to what I call the Bible of pop, which is Taylor Swift's album 1989. I don't care if that's dramatic. I stand by that. Notable tracks from this one: Shake It Off, Blank Space, Out of the Woods, Grammy sweep, Taylor Bob era. Her hair was cut short for this era. It was a very fun sparkle tassel. Patrick, you selected an ATP player for this one, which might have been a little difficult, but who do you got?
I did the Bible of pop. For this one for ATP, I thought it kind of had to have somebody that just like has had the greatest hits, and that's got to be Rafa Nadal.
There we go.
I think he turned pro in 1989. Oh no, wait, that's not right. No. He was born in 86. But it feels like he's been on tour for a long time. Obviously, he's had different eras, and just in terms of like outfits and stuff. Shake It Off. He's had a lot of injuries, this guy, especially as of late, but he can always shake it off and literally like win another Grand Slam. I mean, that's freaking crazy, honestly. So if he wins this Roland Garros, by the way, if Rafa wins Roland Garros, it might be like the most impressive thing that's ever happened in tennis. Like the guy can't even play any of these tournaments leading up to it. We'll see. I mean, he's got a hip injury. It's a serious thing. So we'll see. But yeah, I just, the guy's won 22 Grand Slams, so many cool things to talk about. Honestly, if Federer was still playing, he might be in this convo too, just because if we're talking Bible of pop, and Grammy sweep, Rafa's really good on clay. You got to sweep that clay. You got to, make
There we go.
nice and neat after each match. So yeah, I'm going with Nadal, universally liked for the most part.
What a great pick. That is very 1989. That is very 1989. I love it. Okay. Now we will transition to Reputation. For those that are not aware, this was Taylor Swift kind of was not in the public eye for an entire year after the whole Kanye releasing the song with a lyric that was kind of insulting to Taylor Swift, kind of snake-like, doing that without her permission. All this drama. She comes out with an album entitled Reputation, and think snakes, black, sparkle, revenge, and notable tracks from this one: Look What You Made Me Do, Ready for It, End Game. So are you ready for it?
Ooh, folks? Snake. We're gonna compare a player to a snake. This is I gotta hear.
So I'm just thinking, not because she's snake-like, but just because she kind of embodies this feisty revenge, kind of came back better than ever. I'm going to take Aryna Sabalenka. And I feel like she fits this really well, because this album not only had a lot of fiery revenge tracks, but it also has some tracks like Delicate. And we've seen her be delicate in her purple AO championship dress. So I feel like this just really sums up Aryna. It's fiery. She's feisty on court. She hits hard. Taylor Swift came back hard with this album, and I think Aryna is Reputation.
There we go. Well, it's funny that why don't you explain the next
Okay. So next album, very opposite of Reputation. It's the Lover album. Self-entitled track, Lover, You Need to Calm Down. Me, think Pink, happy, love, pop, very happy, positive album about her very recent ex-boyfriend, Joe Alwyn, RIP. But Patrick, you picked a WTA player for this. So who do you got?
It's an omen of breakups. We don't want to.
No, we don't want that. We don't want that.
It's a happy album, but it's funny. You took her for the dark revenge, like hits hard. I'm taking Sabalenka for this one because she is like super outgoing, very fun, just like happy all the time when you talk to her off the court and stuff. She's like very bubbly. And you said the dress was purple. I don't know. It's up for debate. The AO dress that she wore for the trophy shot. It's close to pink. So I think that's
true. Really,
and then honestly, she really loves to plug her boyfriend these days. Like you can tell how excited she is to have a boyfriend. I don't know if it's like the first one she's had, or if she's had a few, or she just really likes this one specifically, but she likes to plug like, oh yeah, I need to ask my boyfriend. Like when she says it, it's like, oh, I have a boyfriend. Oh wow. Like she's hyped about it. So yeah, I thought Sabalenka went really good with this. She's just in a great space right now. And yeah, she crushed it with that pink dress. So
there we go. That's a good pick. Yeah, I agree. Now that you're saying that, I feel like it does lean more towards pink. I was thinking lavender in my head, but now that I'm kind of recollecting, I feel like it was like, I don't know if it's a fuchsia or what you could call it, but I think pink is correct. So there we go.
I think maybe that Sabalenka's on-court personality works for Reputation, and I think for her off-court, we've got Lover, you know. So
There we go.
two
She
sides
can
of
embody both.
yeah.
Both eras of Taylor Swift. Arena is both. We love it. Okay. Next album, COVID, totally changing gears from anything Taylor Swift has ever done. This album was called Folklore, and it was another Grammy-winning album. It was her COVID album. She gave us no, she calls them Easter eggs, where she really puts a lot of plugs and surprises to kind of lead you up to what album is next. We didn't get that. She just said one morning, my album's releasing tomorrow. Here you go. August, the one, Cardigan, very woodsy. So I'm picking a WTA player for this, and I've got to go with the resident Swiftie herself, Miss Iga Swiatek. And not only that, Folklore is her favorite album, and Seven is her favorite song off of Folklore. So there was no better choice than Iga. I also feel like her personality, a little bit more muted, reserved, kind of like this album. You don't get a lot of like super poppy or super kind of revenge tracks. It's a lot more calm, like you're driving up to go camping. And I feel like Iga, she's calm, collected, consistent. So was this album.
Yeah. I'm trying to find a picture of her wearing a cardigan, just like her layer. Cause
I'm sure she's for sure done it.
I bet she's got that in her wardrobe somewhere. Unfortunately, all these pictures are tennis pictures. So
she doesn't pull on a cardigan after a match, unfortunately.
Not yet. Not yet. But if you're listening, cardigan. We want to see it.
Get it ready.
Nice. No, that's
yeah.
a good.
So that's who I've got. And then transitioning the sister album to Folklore, Evermore, another kind of woodsy fall, equally as sad, if not more sad, I would say. Notable tracks from this one: Champagne Problems, Willow, Tis the Season. Patrick, you picked a WTA player for this. Oh, sorry, ATP player for this. Who did you select?
Okay, not that he's a sad boy or anything, but I picked someone who I think really resembles fall. Like you can picture this guy in like a puffer vest or like, just going to the apple orchard, like doing whatever. I got Casper Ruud for
great
woodsy fall album. I've heard him called the Oatmeal Stallion by, I think, Racket Mag. Somebody over there called him that. Like he's just kind of, he's like kind of a hipster. I feel like he's very multi-dimensional, Casper. He plays tennis, he plays golf, and yet he still can kind of be like this hip guy with his. I don't know if you saw, was it GQ or one of those like
yes
mags? Yeah, he crushed that. I think he wears some turtlenecks and stuff.
He might have even had a cardigan at one point.
Yeah, and Champagne Problems. Just talking about that, like. He was toasting champagne big time at the end of last year when he got to the final of the US Open. Then he got to go on this like dream trip with Nadal to South America and do all these like exhibition events. Like Nadal is his hero since he's a little kid. So to get to go on this trip with him, I'm sure he just thought was like amazing. But then he didn't have the results to start this year that maybe he wanted. And people were like, yeah, was it because you weren't training hard enough because you were on that trip with Nadal? And so, maybe he's got a little champagne problems to start the year. But speaking of tis the season, we're on to clay now. And Casper, as they call him. This is his best surface by far. He made the Roland Garros final last year, as maybe you saw in Breakpoint or just from watching tennis as well. But yeah, I think this is his season, and he's done pretty well so far. So yeah, I got Casper Ruud, the Oatmeal Stallion, for Evermore.
Yep. Tis the damn season for Clay. There we go. Great pick. He's exactly who I was hoping you would take for Evermore. So I'm very impressed.
Okay.
You've been spot on. It's great. So if anyone has any free Taylor Swift tickets, Patrick, I'm sure would go.
Yeah, free. I'm sure people are just giving them away. I heard they were pretty good to get. And just
you got an extra ticket. Put it in the comment section. Okay. And we'll get to that next week. Okay. Last album, her current era that she's in. And this is Midnights. So this is her newest album, her 10th album, very iconic, record breaking, most on Spotify, most on Apple Music, ever streamed by any artist. So broke a lot of records, notable tracks: Lavender Haze, Antihero, Bejeweled. Very excited for this one. This album's a little bit more experimental, kind of something different I feel like Taylor Swift is really good at evolving and changing and adapting. And the player that I actually picked for that is Coco Gauff.
Okay.
And I feel like she kind of embodies that same thing. She is ever changing her game. She, is able to adapt on court. She kind of gives us a variety with her hits, with her outfits, with everything that she's got. I just feel like she fits this really well. And she also just kind of has a lot of like multi-talents. And I just feel like Midnights is a good album that embodies Coco Gauff.
Yeah. The next generation.
Yeah.
I feel like if we did a male player for this, I feel like Joe
Yeah.
been pretty good in this one. I mean,
yeah.
breaking all the records. He wears blue a lot, it seems like, with his Lacoste get-ups. I mean, I know he's wearing red now, but he wears blue a lot. Anti-hero. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. Yeah.
That's a good one.
But yeah, I mean, we could talk all day. I'm trying to think. I think I had Fearless TV. Alcaraz was one that I wrote like could have been in there as well, like that guy's fearless.
He is fearless. That is for sure. And he's young. I mean, she was only 19 when that album came out, or 18. So
yeah. Man. All right. Well, there it is. That's the definitive comparison of tennis players to Taylor Swift. Not albums, eras.
Eras, folks. Eras. Yeah. So if anyone, is listening, comment below. Tell us if you agree, disagree. If you have anything that you would rather, someone that you think embodies a certain era more. But I feel like I will also like to say, I think we could potentially see a tennis player or two attend one of these Taylor Swift shows at some point. I think it's a very strong possibility. Ego would probably be the one of them all to attend, but you never know. So we could see some tennis players there.
Yeah, she for sure. She told us in San Diego last year that she was listening to Taylor's new album. So that was last October. Would that have been Midnights? When did Midnights?
Yep. Yeah, Midnights came out in October.
Okay. Yeah, there you go. Man, we're gonna have to do more of these. I feel like these are pretty fun to compare.
These are fun. We'll obviously pick different artists, but I could talk about Taylor Swift until the end of time. But Patrick, I think that you've earned, if you want it, a Swiftie badge today. I think that you did.
I get a badge. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll send a badge over to Milwaukee for you, but you did a great job. Appreciate you going with the flow on this, but it was really fun. So I decided to do a little fun episode for you guys. We hope you enjoyed, and we will see you next time.